Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Heroes Media Group Podcast Network. It's Tuesday. That means it's TPO Dock Talk time. We got a great show lined up for you tonight. We got a bunch of the Colorado anglers that went out and represented Colorado at the Bassmasters Kayak National Series event at Lake Havasu. We're going to talk to those guys. We're going to go over basically all their experiences, man, and it ranges from top to bottom. So it's going to be a good show. Stick with us here. Let's get it fired up. Happy Tuesday night to you folks. Welcome to the TPO Dock Talk podcast. We are getting rolling. We're back live again, and we're getting another good show underway here, man. We've got some cool shows lined up, starting with this one here. We got a bunch of guys coming in that went down to Lake Havasu to fish the Bassmaster. You know, it's not often Bassmaster comes out west, man, so it was important for a good showing out there. Tell Bassmaster that there's a reason you should come to the west. And so there was a pretty decent field there. Not for nothing, my personal opinion is it could have been better. Really was wishing California would have showed out a little bit more, but who knows? Hopefully it was enough to get Bassmaster back there again next season. But super cool they came out. We got the Colorado guys that made that run out there. Got a couple Army vets. We got an active duty there. Was all being represented from the state. Good stuff, man. And so, yeah, we'll be chatting with those guys here. As always, every TPO Dock Talk podcast brought to you for this point forward, brought to you by the Romans Warrior Foundation. Helping is healing. Go check them out at romanswarriorfoundation.org. If you got a big event in your community coming up and you want to take it to another level and really bring some amazing healing into your local community, give the Romans Warrior Foundation a ring and throw an email their direction and talk to them about the Global War on Terror's Wall of Remembrance. There's bookings available. There's a schedule available to get this wall on hand. It's the only traveling memorial in the United States that is dedicated to the entire GWAT era. This is about a 120 plus foot long wall memorial that will be brought fresh from Alabama right to your location and set up. So give Romans Warrior Foundation a check out there and talk to those guys about some of the details. Hey man, super cool news. We have our 2025 swag is in at the True Patriot Outfitter store. Our store is back up and running. We have the calendar out there, the all-year Santa calendar that is on there for $22. We have these hats. This is a tritone hat along with I'm pointing to the wrong direction. Wow, camera angles, fun. We've got this with the alternative logo on it. We've got the Richardson 112, which is what this is. We've also got the black and heather one, same logo. We've got that out there. Both of those $22 a piece in support of the Stop 22 initiative. Have those available at the store to you, and just a little bit of mail shipping if you need it mailed to you. If I know you and you're around this area and you're wanting one of those, just place the order there and hit me up, and I'll make sure we get it to you there. We can avoid the shipping either way. But if you're out there someplace that we're not going to be for a while, don't forget, get your T-shirt, get your swag on. It's a great way to support the missions that we have rolling out there at the TruePatriotOutfitters.org. Man, we just concluded an awesome trip. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't totally sure how it was going to go. But when Marty Hughes invites you and says, I would love you to be a guest at something I'm putting on, you pay very close attention, all right? I mean, Marty is Marty. And so paid close attention to what he was saying. Looked at his event that he had last year, the Sportsman's Expo in Auburn, Nebraska. And looked at the stuff there. He offered us a booth at this location for us to bring the TPO on scene into eastern Nebraska. We went, and I got to tell you what, man, one of the smartest decisions we've made in quite a while. What a fantastic, awesome little event that Marty is growing in that area. Tons of support for it, for the fishing community in that area. And I got to tell you, man, the way these people embrace the TPO there, the amount of volunteer names that we have now of guys that want to have kayaks that want to help us when we get into Nebraska. That was super, super heartwarming to see that kind of support, and the amount of events. We've got some people for our Nebraska event. We've got some warriors we're going to take and get out fishing with when we get over to Elwood. And we're looking at a couple other events in that neck of the woods. Select Sail and Sports was on hand, Brady Stores, and then of course Eco Fishing Shop was there. A couple great shout outs to some of the vendors that were there that were doing some good stuff. This young lady, Claire, she was doing, she had a bunch of artwork that she had done on reclaimed and fresh unfinished wood. Bought a couple of those things to bring those home there to surprise the wife. We'll have one of those hanging up here pretty soon. We had also L&L Custom Baits. Lakin, he was on hand. He donated a pile of crankbaits, custom painted crankbaits to us that we're going to give out at these events to the guys and gals that are interested in getting some extra tackle there to make sure they get a hold of those. L&S Lures was on hand. This young man, he's a former Nebraska Bass Club. He's an alum of that Bass Club, and he makes some amazing quality lures in there, and dude is just plugged into what's working. And so, yeah, we got a chance to talk with them. And like I said, just Jay Harmon, he was there. Always good to see my brother Jay. He was sporting the hat there. Got lots of hugs from him. That was super cool. Met the crappie guys across the way from us over there. We're going to be talking with them in the future. Probably have them on the show here. One of the things the team and I have, the team brought up to myself, is that we're going to open up, different species on our trips when we take folks out. Open up some of the pan fishing and so forth, and crappie is going to be right on that list. And so who better than to go to those guys that live and breathe crappie? We'll have those guys come on here and talk about what their experience has been with Colorado crappie fishing. So going to be some cool stuff coming down the pike, man. And so yeah, we're excited about where a lot of this is going, and a lot of the support that we're going to be getting from Nebraska there. So Marty, thank you so very much for including us. You are you're a legend in the sport, and now, as time has gone on, somebody I'm proud to call my friend. Enjoyed dinner with you and the wife there on the final night that I was in town. That was super cool. And you can't go anywhere in that town without people knowing Marty everywhere you go. It's probably the same, pretty much about anywhere in around the fishing community. So, all right, folks. So pretty much we've got a lot of that stuff coming up in the future. Just so you know, we're going to be doing parts of our show. We're going to be doing some little segments where we're actually going to start maybe breaking from the normal format and getting into some different topics here and there, issues that concern the veteran community. As we received feedback from some of those folks, we're going to start getting in and throwing some opinions around. I want to promote the fact that we're allowed to have different opinions on things and still respect and get along with each other. This is something that I think a lot of people have forgotten about, that it's okay to disagree. We can still respect and love each other and not agree on something. That's all right too, and so that's we're going to be getting into some of that maybe in as we get closer towards tournament season there, where parts of the show, just little 10-15 minute segments, we might cover some stuff, because I want to hear what you have to say out there that are watching us and following along. We want to get your opinions on some of these topics and just kind of see where stuff's going. We might ruffle some feathers. Then again, we might make some new friends. Who knows? I'm sure it'll go all the way. All right. So that's that. Let's go ahead and bring these guys. They've been patiently waiting in the wings here. Let's go ahead and get right now what we have here joining us. We might get our fourth guy in here. One of the guys had to back out last minute, and so we're not going to get him on board, such as the life, I guess, of live podcasting. But we have, there he is. Good. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 4 guys waiting in the wings right now that we're going to go ahead and bring in. First, let's bring in a couple familiar faces here. Part of the TPO Pro team. These guys went down there as well. Mr. Matt Collins fishing, of course. And let me find the right deal. There it is. What's up, Brother Matt? How you doing?
What's up, buddy?
Not too much, man. Let's get in our other brother from another mother, Mr. Nick, the weatherman. How are you, sir? You're muted. There you go.
Hey, we're back. All right. Hey, Matt.
What's up, buddy?
Yes.
Sorry, boys.
Now, let's get this guy. I think Kenny might have been on like a couple seasons ago. He might have jumped on. Maybe not. I don't know. But if not, then it's my fault for not having this guy on here before. U.S. Army vet, Mr. Kenny Hood. Let's go ahead and bring him into the show. What's up, brother Kenny? How you doing?
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm doing great.
Good. Now, here he comes. The Italian stallion himself. Let's go ahead and get in our man, Mr. Massimo. I'm not even trying to pronounce the last name because I don't want to beat it up. I'll let him pronounce it. Massimo, welcome to the show, brother.
How are you, my friend? San Germano.
San Germano. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, man. We are super stoked to have you in here.
Thank you.
Let's talk some fishing here. So
Excellent.
you guys went out and you made the run to Havasu. I mean, from a glance, Havasu strikes me very similar to a lot of Colorado waters, right? It's highland res. It's probably not a lot of grass or vegetation. Looks like mainly rocks and such, but there are areas that get grassy, right? I mean, anybody have any is there grass out there or no?
It's sparse right now, but there is grass, yes.
Okay. All right. Did Drew find the grass? Is that where he went? The little bit of grass that was there?
He went up the river.
I launched next to Drew. We pre-fished next to each other, and then we went left and he went right. And if you've seen his podcast on it, he basically found the most boring stretch of river without any bends at all. And he floated the whole thing, which was pretty wild, like 17 miles, I think. And he just marked pockets. He doesn't use any, he shows up, he just flew in. He's got a thermometer and he's got a cell phone to mark waypoints. He has no graph and kicked everybody's butt. So good on him.
Dude's a phenom, man. He's a freak of nature. But
Yeah.
so let's just go around. Let's go around the table here and just talk a little bit about our experience going there. So let's start here with Kenny. Kenny, had you ever been to Havasu before this event here? Was this your first trip?
First trip.
Yeah.
Yep, first trip out. Was a little leery about going, but I had to get out of Colorado and get some warmer weather.
I feel that.
You picked a good weekend for that. It was cold in Colorado.
I got lucky.
But even for that neck of the woods, I saw some hoodies being worn there. What were like temps looking like there when you were there?
I was still cold. Early morning it was in the 30s. Some maybe 1 or 2 days it was in the low 40s, but it was still crisp in the morning. And then, but me being anemic, of course, I was still cold all day, and I had whatever I started with, I ended with as well. But it got up to the 60s most days, so it was actually really nice.
Gotcha. Wow. What's up, brother Trev? We got Trev tuning in for the show here tonight. Thanks for tuning in, Trev. We appreciate you, man. Good stuff. So, never been there before. What's your the community, the local area? What's your take on the place? Is it a place to make? I mean, what was it, like 16 hours to get there? 15, 16?
Well, it was 14 hours.
Oh, 14.
From my house anyway, from where I was at. So, we could have did 13 and a half, but with the weather coming in, I didn't want to go over the pass. So we went south to New Mexico. Yeah, and then we came back that way as well. But the local part of the town was absolutely amazing. It's like a little party town, but it's also a quiet town. So it's kind of like you get both.
Even in January, huh?
Oh yeah, I mean there was a ton of people there, running around in side by sides, and all the restaurants were pretty busy in the afternoon, and it was just a good place to be. It really was.
And you caught a little celeb sighting there, one of the OGs from the sport there, right? Was that on this trip?
Oh yeah, Roy Hawk at the greet and meet we had there for the Bassmasters Series. Yeah, he just happened to show up. I saw him walk in, and I had to talk to him. We spent about an hour and a half talking back and forth. He bought a bunch of beers for us. Of course, he's sponsored by the place we were at, so right. He was getting free beers all night. But it was still nice, having a pro elite MLF angler buying us beers and talking about fishing.
Right. Never a bad thing to rub shoulders with those guys. Well, Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Nick, had you ever been to Havasu prior to any of this, or was this a first trip for you as well?
No, first trip for me. Never been to Havasu. Never. This is my first Bassmaster event. So
that's right.
It was all first for me. Same thing. It was about a 12 and a half, 13-hour drive for me. The drive down it's actually not a bad drive. I did find a little bit of grass. Some of the tules, anything that was alive was okay. But yeah, the neighborhoods and all that stuff, everybody was cool. I could see it. I don't think I want to go back there like spring break. I think that would be a bad time to go fishing out there. But it was a really cool lake. A lot of different stuff to it. Main lake stuff, river stuff. There's just a lot of diversity in that fishery. A lot.
No kidding.
And I mean, they caught a lake record while we were there.
So yeah, he concurs with you. Spent a few spring breaks. Trev does down there. It was a pretty epic place, he says.
Yeah.
So yeah. So when I think Havasu and I think that area down there, wind comes to mind. Did you guys? I mean, is the wind? Is it like Pueblo where it can come in, but you can get out of it pretty easy, or was it? What was the wind like when you guys were there?
I don't know. The windy day for me, we were down like Cattail area. Wasn't a lot of spots to get away from the wind. It shoots down through there, kind of that area, kind of reminiscent of almost like a horse tooth if you're in Colorado, where it runs down the chute, and 15 miles an hour feels like 20 there. It gets rowdy.
Yeah.
Collins, was this your first Bassmaster event, or you've been to Bassmaster events before though? Yes.
No, this is my first.
This was the first Bassmaster event. Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, the weatherman's as full of crap in Arizona as they are in Colorado.
And you're not talking about Nick. You're talking about the actual weather guy.
I'm still full of shit. Don't get me wrong.
No, both. Let's say both. No, it was windy. I mean, we got a little more pre-fishing than Nick did. I went down with Alex Rojas, and the first day we got there, it was white capping like crazy. Really just, and that was when we got there. It was in the afternoon, so a lot of people just didn't even fish that day. It was so bad because the way that the lake sets up, you got the Colorado River that shoots down, and the wind was pretty much every day shooting straight down from the river. They were also letting a ton of water out, so the river, I kind of divided it up. There was river fishing, and then there was lake fishing. A lot of you could kind of pick your poison there. And I've never fished the rivers like that before. I fished creeks and rivers in Tennessee, but not super clear Tule River with just like deep pockets. So I wanted to try it. And so we went. The first day, it was so windy and there was so much current that I was maxed out on my trolling motor going like 1 mile per hour upstream. So like it got pretty wild.
Wow.
So when they would say like, oh yeah, they're like, oh, it's going to be calm today. It's only going to get up to like 12 miles per hour. Like we went to the tackle shop, a couple times there, and they're like, yeah, they always say it's going to max out at like 10 or 12, and it's always like 20, 25. So it got pretty gnarly out there. There was a guy that was from Canada that flipped his kayak at the boat ramp.
Oh,
but that was on like the calmer of the days. But I mean, and it was what, 49-degree water, something like that. I forget what it was exactly.
Yes.
But
it was
48.
cold.
It was cold.
Yeah, you don't get a lot of time with that.
So, yep.
Crazy stuff. Massimo, was that place like anything you've fished before? Or was that a whole new experience for you?
Oh, very new experience. My first time in a lake like that. And very nice lake, huge lake, a lot of wind. But suddenly, after noon, shut down, everything was calm. Well, for me, it was very difficult for my situation, my kayak. I don't have a trolley motor, but it was very hard for me. go against the wind because it's not very easy to fishing with a pedal kayak, especially for me.
I was going to say you're pedaling the whole time, yeah?
Yes, yes. And the wind again come from north was very strong, but then what I saw afternoon around 1:30 down, and then pick it up after 3. It was
Wow.
just a little window. Was no windy. Well, depended the place. I don't know. I was south, or I was north by the river, and then a bay where there was a lot of boat fishing walleye. Very flat the water, but was no fishing, nothing over there. And then I
Yes.
decided to pedal maybe 45 minutes to get in the river where I start catching fishes.
Nice. So were you using the wind, or were you trying to get out of the wind for your bite?
Get out from the wind because
Gotcha.
from all the between the trees and the grass, with the I get in the middle of the grass for the wind. So it was a very struggle for me.
Yeah, man, it's that the navigation of the vessel becomes such a major important piece, in kayak fishing, especially on the competitive side. That was one of the things that was tough for me to adjust. With the boat I had worked, and your equipment does most of the work for you, right? But
Yeah.
in the kayak, you've got to do the majority of that work. There's, we got some technology now that helps with that, with anchor mode, spot lock, things like that. But still, there is a navigation point. So when you're out there pedaling it, brother, that's dude, that's I got to tell you, man, it's kudos to you and impressive stuff, man. I'm glad you made that run. That's super cool. That's
Yeah.
to get a chance to go against you just fished against some of the best anglers in the nation right there, and so that
I know.
was a lot of fun.
Yes, always. Even in Missouri, in Nebraska, all the guys are much better than me. They have much more experience. Besides the kayak, they have a lot of experience. But the most important is meet you guys and try to beat you.
Hell
Maybe
yeah.
next time I'm gonna beat you.
Hell yeah. I love it, brother. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Kenny, when you were there, were you finding a bite with the wind? I mean, a lot of times guys prefer wind for their kind of bite they're looking for. Or, what was your game plan? Was it to get out of that wind, or was it to use it to your advantage?
Well, I had 3 days of pre-fishing that I literally, it didn't matter if there was wind or not. I fished the main lake, around the whole London Bridge Island, north, south. I couldn't get anything going for those 3 days. So I had one fish on a wacky rig. So I was pretty destined to not catch a single fish on tournament days. And Saturday it sure worked out that way. And I fished the main lake, of course. I launched out of Cattail Cove. Went straight over to California side and fished, I don't know, eight or nine pockets, anywhere from 2 feet deep to 50 feet deep. And I couldn't find any fish. And I was scoping the whole time as well. And even with the scope, the fish I did find on the scope, I just couldn't get them to bite. So main lake was tough for me day one. Day two, I took a gamble and went all the way south to the refuge, and I found 57-degree water temp.
Wow.
6 to 7 feet in the middle of the channel, and then the tules were in 2 feet of water. So I spent the whole entire day flipping tules.
There you go. And day two, did that basically get you healthy there a little bit with that?
Yeah, day two, I turned it around. I caught 19 fish, and my best 5 went 77 1/4.
Good stuff. Good stuff, man. Nick, you came in and smashed yourself. Number one, you gave me the best profile picture ever to use, which is now being used on all of our media. Now we're going to be using that. You with that Smalley, that thing was a giant. What were you doing with to get after that guy?
Well, that was on day one. My practice kind of mimicked Kenny's a little bit. I didn't see a fish day one of practice. Day two of practice, we found a little bit flipping toolies, but it had to be in water that was over 8 feet. Then you could get them to go. If it was shallower, they wouldn't go. Started off the day one, caught a fish within like 15 minutes. Lost the race to my first spot, but caught a fish on it that was about a quarter of an inch too short. Thought, cool, I'll work through it and catch fish like I did the day before, and that did not happen. Ended up finding that fish in the middle of the channel. There was some like little oyster bars, and I threw a spoon in and caught that Smalley. I don't know what the weight was. It was probably like 4 pounds. Definitely my best bass. So it was my PB. And
Good
then
stuff. And that was just over 20, right?
There was 2 giants with it. I mean, just as big, if not bigger. When it came up, I thought it was a catfish at first because it was so dark. Threw it back in. Second cast after, hooked into another one. Ended up losing that one, and then fished that same little spot for a while, and then just tried to mimic that for the next, I don't know, 2 hours or so, 2 to 2.5 hours, and did not get another bite the whole day.
It went just over 20, right? Or was it 20?
No, it was right at 20.
Right at 20. That's a big fish, brother.
Yeah, it was super fun. It went to go do the smallmouth jump, and it kind of just lazily went. It didn't really want to do much.
A little cold.
A couple casts later, I had one of those little, I don't know what they are, those little clams or whatever those shellfish, hooked onto one of my treble hooks, and so I feel that's what they were doing. They were just down in there feeding on them. When you would go across the side there, I was right at the mouth of the river as it went into the lake, and when you go across, they would just scatter. But you just couldn't get them to go. You try to scope them, you try to throw anything at them, they just wouldn't go.
Got it. Got a couple questions coming in, and Matt replied in some of the comments, but Trev was asking, what do you guys think the main thing Gregory did to separate himself, bait or location? And you think, Matt, it was the location that really played the biggest difference there?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to, I don't know if I can share my screen or not, but I can kind of pop up where we were fishing. And Drew's shown where he was fishing at on podcast before.
You should be able to share.
Let me do that here real quick if I can.
Got a question for a couple other guys too. Casual Bass Guy tuning in with us through YouTube here says, off topic, but curious, what do y'all be fishing this year? Always good to hear some Dock Talk. Keep it up. Massimo, what are you fishing? What series are you going to do? Any more Bassmasters, or are you looking to CKB? You doing some national stuff?
No, I want to do Bassmaster. I am trying to go in Tennessee too, so I am working on it.
Nice.
Yes, because it's a good experience, and found and go fishing another place, another lake. So I'm gonna work on it. Go in Tennessee.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Kenny, what are you looking at? Yeah, I know you said you're going to grab a couple Bassmasters in there. Any other national stuff you're looking at?
Yeah, I'm going to do I'm going to do all the Bassmasters minus the New York. I just can't handle that drive, and that's just too much off for travel. But then I'm also going to hit up AAKS again this year.
Nice.
That's a really good series. A lot of good sticks in there. If you want to make yourself better, especially as a traveling angler, the All-American Series is a really good series to jump in.
Couldn't agree more, man. Nick, what do you think? Local stuff, or are you going to grab a couple more of those national runs?
I'm definitely going to be fishing with CKFC and CKB.
Nice.
I'll hit most of those. I'm going to try for another Bassmaster, maybe PK, if I can make some of that work, but I just don't know if I can make it work with time off and all that. My truck broke down on the way back, so that gobbled up some of my tournament money this year. But some of the All-Americans looked really good too. So if I do end up going, it'll be kind of a last minute, Hail Mary go if I hit any of those.
I feel you guys on that. Collins, you getting close to sharing that or no?
Yeah, I'm working it here. It's
okay.
It's trying.
The one on the All-American that got my attention, of course, you say that anything that rhymes with lacrosse, you're going to get my ears perking up. And they're going to lacrosse at the end of the season there. So I'm already talking to Lovell about, man, one truck, we could split the gas. We can, he can be Little Spoon. We'll camp in the truck. You know what I mean? Anything we can do to cut costs.
A fork there.
That's the one I'm interested in, Kenny, is Fork.
Lake Fork, yeah.
I'm definitely going to Fork. I've been to that lake 9 times, so come April 12th, that'll be my 10th time visit to Fork, and I hope it's the one that I'll win. I've come close a couple times, but just haven't knocked that one off the belt yet.
Here we go. We got a little share going here. All right, Matt, you are live, buddy.
Cool. Yeah. So this is just the Omnia app, but Lake Havasu proper is just kind of down here, this big bowl, right? So really, there's a couple ways that you could fish this. This was basically the limits were from here on the south side of the dam, and then all the way up to Needles, which is the river. So you have main lake, and then from the main lake, you basically have a big river system, the Colorado River, that runs up all the way up to Needles. Now, speaking about what Drew Gregory did for his pre-fishing day, he only got 1 day to practice. So what he did was he launched at Needles. The current was ripping, right? I think I was going like 3 miles per hour, no motor or anything, just heading down with the current. So all he did was mark fish the whole way down the river until he got down to the lake, which I think that was total like 15 miles or something crazy. I pre-fished up here the first day with Alex, and there's a place called Topak. We call it Tupac because I think that sounded cooler. But Topak right here, which is about halfway down the river. There was another launch down here by this refuge where all this looks good with all these bends. But it was too shallow. We tried to push Nick through it, but he couldn't fit. So we ended up launching at Topak. Water was dropping every day through practice too. So that river kept getting. So we launched the first day up at Topak. The 3 days later, we went and fished it. And my trailer, there was like the boat dock or the boat ramp just ended, and it just dropped off like a foot onto the fenders, which was super sweet on a new trailer. But it handled it just fine. But anyways, so at Topak here, I went through this area, and then you kind of had to go around. None of this water is actually here. Basically, this is just access for the river. So right before we even got to the river, there was like a rock wall here. I was like, oh, that looks cool. I'm going to spot lock real quick. Like second cast of the morning, I caught a 20-inch smallmouth right there. I was like, all right, here we go. This is pre-fishing, of course. And I'm not seeing any of the layers coming through here but basically what I was looking for, I went downstream with the current, and I was looking for any pockets or eddies, that I could get into away from the current. Right. Like the smallies would basically use them as ambush points, right? And I'm not a good river fisherman. I was new at it, but I wanted to learn it and get the time on the water there. So got a 20-inch smallie. I moved over here. I found a 30-foot pocket. And I mean, it goes from like 3 feet to 30 feet just in a pocket. And I would cast my bait down there, and it would just swirl down because the current was ripping, but you'd get in these pockets, and that backflow was so crazy that you didn't need any motor to do anything in there. You could just stay in there, So I ended up catching like a 14.5-inch smallie here, went down a little bit more, found another like a rock, but they were super skittish, and you would just see like packs of them, right? But there were tons and tons and tons of carp. So a lot of guys were like, "Wow, I saw so many fish." Well, there's a ton of carp in there, and the bass were kind of like tucked in with the carp, which was kind of weird. They were all just hanging out, but I would basically get into these parts where I'd get out of the current, I could get off the motor, um, and I would cast into like there would be like two pockets, right? So there was like a pocket of like 6 feet, and then I would be like 50 feet back in a pocket of like 20 feet. And I would cast up into the pocket on a scope. I could see him just come up and crush it.
Wow.
So I ended up catching another like 17 right here, and we were just walked back, and Alex and I were just basically pre-fishing, walking down through the river. I think we ended up getting probably down here before we turned back. And that was a full day because the current was ripping so much. I mean, you got 3 mile per hour for the current, and then you got 25 mile per hour winds shooting down it. You know,
Yeah.
autopilot, I love it, but it's not meant to be fast. It's not like a river kayak. It's held me on spot lock great, but it wasn't like what Drew was doing. So anyways, we found some pockets, enough. We got a limit. Alex had found some smaller ones in there as well. We ended up fishing the main lake the next time. So moved further south to the lake, and basically we launched at cattails as well. It was this area here that we were fishing basically. And Havasu doesn't have a lot of structure in it. And if you read about, but they really do. Like it, but they're like, oh, we didn't have any structure. When they brought the structure in, fishing started getting so great. They got all the tules, but in the deep stuff, they didn't have a lot. So there's tons of these like man-made, it looks like bridges almost, or like culverts almost that are down there.
Yep.
And you could cast into those. So we went down there, caught an 18.5-inch largie, but I couldn't replicate anything. So it was like, if I was down there, all I was going to have to do on the deep stuff was, I mean, there's hundreds of those like homemade brush piles or whatever. So you could just go to every single one of them. But I mean, I was just soaking a robo worm down there,
Sure,
and finally getting a bite. But to get back to answer the question, so what Drew did back at Tupac, you see how all of this river down here, like it bends around. There's all these little cuts and eddies and creeks that flow into it. It looks really good.
Yep.
What Drew found was this crappy stretch that just looks straight, like super boring, right? And he said this on one of his shows. He said, hey, he found the most boring water that he figured people wouldn't fish. And he was spot on. We all launched out of Topak. We all went left. He was already gone by the time we'd even left because from launch, his motor was so quick with his little shoalie. And he went upstream, and basically there was like some rock banks here. It was just like a 45-degree chunk rock bank. And he had marked all these fish, and he would basically get back up to him, ambush him. I think he was throwing like a Zobius. He threw a spinning rod, which he was super not happy about. I do think he tucked into some of these eddies a little bit. But he covered a lot of water as well. But basically he found like the uninteresting water, and he caught 11 fish in 2 days to win the tournament.
Wow.
So he did not, he lost a couple fish the second day that, he really did like wait until he didn't, sandbag at all, but it was tough. There were only 6 people that caught a limit 2 days. He had a pretty good limit the first day. So that's basically what it was. It was one on the river, but there was just no consistent bite. We did find a bite in the tules, and I think like what Kenny's saying about that warmer water, like finding that was probably clutch, because the river was about 2 degrees warmer than the lake, but we weren't anywhere near that 57 degrees that Kenny found. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Got a question coming in. Our man Corey Doyle tuning in. I appreciate you tuning into the show, brother. Corey says, Kenny, are you running forward-facing sonar? If so, how much did you utilize it at Havasu?
I am running forward-facing sonar, and I used it the whole first day on the main lake, and I found fish. plenty of them, both crappie, catfish, carp, and the smallmouth. You could definitely find the smallmouth. I just couldn't get them to bite utilizing that live sonar. So, I mean, even having the sonar, it didn't matter on the main lake for me. And I struggled on the main lake. I did not use the forward-facing sonar back in the refuge because it was too shallow, and it was only like a 50-foot wide channel that went back in the refuge between the tules. So basically it was just really muddy. I think that's also why it was a little bit warmer too, because the sun was hitting that water, really dark water. And I like junk fishing in the dirt anyway, so that was kind of my style.
Good stuff. Corey says he'll see you at Fork, Nick. That might be the funnest one-day tourney of the year. Now, Massimo, Corey also said he's a little bit jealous of how you drinking that wine. Apparently, what's the flavor you got going there, Massimo?
Oh, today I have Pinot Grigio.
Pinot Grigio. All right.
Yeah.
You know, for those of you suckers who don't get a chance to get around Massimo at a tournament, he brings some of the most amazing ass food in these baggies. It's like he's pushing crack around there with those pastries he brings in. Now, Massimo, are you making those, or is that the little lady making those?
Yeah, I make those.
Wow. You're a chef as well.
Thank you. Yes, a little bit.
Nice. Nice. Let's see. Trev's got, would you guys, this is the next set of questions here. So, Havasu, is it worth the trip? Collins, start with you. What do you think? Would you go back there again?
I would go back there again to fish the river just because it was really cool. That lake, though, I mean, it's hard to explain how crazy that lake probably gets from, what do you think? March, it's probably warm enough there. Once spring break hits, like here, it's like, Memorial Day to Labor Day, right? There, I think it's probably way earlier. So like from March to November, I mean, you're talking about 1,000 boats on that lake cruising around. It would be a nightmare on a kayak. Maybe fishing the river would be cool. But I don't know. I think if you went just before spring break and you could get into like the shell cracker that are there, because that's something we haven't talked about, but like the world record shell cracker, red ear bluegill, like it's over 6 pounds. They've got it on display at the tackle shop. And you talk about a 6-pound bluegill, that would be a lot of fun to catch, but they were in 60 feet of water while we were there. So for me, I'd probably rather, by that time of year, I'd rather go to Texas and not have, or somewhere else, and just not have to deal with, a ton of drunk people on spring break. But, that's just, that's kind of me.
So it sounds like it's definitely a winter lake, wouldn't you say, Nick? I mean, that sounds like the time to go there is break away from the Colorado winter and jump down there.
Yeah, I would say that as well. Spring break, I don't think I would be caught in there in spring break. If I did, I'd go all the way up the river, get in the shallowest water I can find. I mean, even while we were there, one day, the day we were pre-fishing on Friday, I think we had bass boats ripping past us at like 50 miles an hour, and they were in 4 feet of water.
Wow.
The next day it was just over 3 feet of water. So they dropped for me from Friday to Saturday, I lost probably 10 to 14 inches of water in my fishing area, and it showed.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's a cool lake. I would go back, but again, in like 14 days, it's going to be 100 degrees there probably. So that would suck.
Right. Super, super hot. Massimo, did you find any crowding in the areas when you were there, or did you kind of have water to yourself?
No, I the only place where I found a few boats, they were fishing walleye. I was close by the river. But then I was by myself, just cross a few guys, but no catch, nothing. I mean, I covered a lot of water, and then when the wind come pick it up, I say, okay, bye, adios, go back. But
Yeah.
in the first day of the tournament, I went a lot of places, and I found this area very calm and nothing. I mean, I saw few guys getting with the kayak, maybe 15, 20 minutes, go around, nothing. I say, okay, me too. And then I went by the river, yes.
So were you up north as well, or were you down?
Yeah, no, I went everywhere from south where is the dam, Mosquito. They say Mosquito Bay, Mosquito Island. No, nothing over there. I mean, nada, nada, nada.
Wow. And Massimo, are you running forward-facing sonar, or are you just running traditional sonar?
Well, I have my fish finder, and I don't have a lot of equipment like the other guys they have. I have a 100 bucks fish finder, and I broke the arm of the transducer, so I fish blind.
Hi, yi. You broke that last year at Norton, Massimo.
Yeah, I broke the proper last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So,
and
so you
then,
broke another one?
uh-huh. And
What-
then I broke the arm of the transducer, so I tried to fix it, but don't work. So I went blind.
you know, Massimo, you know I love you, dog, but I don't know how many times I don't know if it's the transducer that's got the problem right now. What are you doing to break transducers, Massimo? Are you bringing it in before you load it in your truck, or are you just kind of throwing it in there?
No, I fix when I am in the water the arm.
Oh, okay.
Then when I get out, I take it off. But when I found a, a how do you say, 1 feet over the water, and you can see nothing, it just you see, I hear, that's it, adios.
Oh,
I
no.
I broke the arm. But I gonna see to buy, with another kayak, a trolley motor. I gonna try to sell my kayak to buy another one.
There you go.
It's very hard paddling, and then you see all the other guys. They already are in the spots, and I just start paddling, and no, yeah, it's very hard for me.
And I would say put a metal transducer arm on your shopping list. Something that you can't break, dog. Get you a good sturdy one.
Yeah, I saw one on internet, and I gonna see all fixed by the in the front of my kayak. See something. I need to find some solution
There
for
you go. Well, good stuff. Good stuff here.
Yeah.
So now, Trev said something here, and I don't know what this is. Maybe I'm just a dork. He asked if you were going to hit that Amart Blackbird patterns. I don't even know what that is.
That's the Aaron Martin. He won a Bassmaster Elite Series there, flipping in the Tules with a black and yellow jig.
Oh, okay.
Because he was catching fish, and he found black and yellow feathers in the live well that they were spitting up.
Okay.
So that turned him on to that bite, and that's when he started flipping the Tules like 4 feet back into the Tules.
Nice.
Yeah, and was pulling out 4-pounders.
I'll say they had an article on Bassmaster like leading up to it, and I think they've done it for each of their national tournaments, and it's basically a local that's like, oh, this is how it's going to be won, right? And it was all about like forward-facing sonar deep, that's how it's going to be won out there. It's going to be cold winter fishing, everyone's going to be live scoping. The people that were catching them, they were catching them in the Tules. We caught them in the Tules. Kind of got on that bite, just didn't have enough. They were super easy to spook out of there, but they were catching them in the Tules. There was one dude from Utah that did really well. He was cranking over those man-made structures I was talking about. He was cranking on top of those, catching them. and then a lot of shallow stuff. It seems like as it seems like the shallow bite is what actually was winning. And guys we were talking to were still saying that, like, don't be afraid to go shallow, because there were people that caught 3 or 4 in pre-fishing, and then they caught 1 or 2 in 2 days out there, if anything, and it was just a tough bite.
And there was the other night on Luke Duncan's podcast, he had Greg Hackney on a while back, and they were talking about this, is that, the thought is, have the fish always been out there where they're finding them, or has there been a lot of pressure over this years that has put, up shallow, that's kind of forced them to kind of react to move out there? It makes you wonder, because then it means it's going to be cyclical then, right? As that pressure goes out, it's going to start shoving them back shallow again. Who knows? I'm not 100% sure. My thoughts of entering back into forward facing this year, I think, have been squashed now. So yeah, I just don't know if I have the budget, brother. I gotta make decisions on what I can do and how much I need to beg, to get in the budget. So unless a great deal, pops up there, I think we're going to put our money in motor and new graphs. So we're going to go that direction, but we'll be ready for it next season. You know what I mean? But we'll see where it goes. Well, listen, guys, this is I sincerely appreciate you guys coming on here and talking about this stuff and your experience there. Let's go around the table to end this thing out. Massimo, give me your final thoughts on this. Number one, your thoughts of how a Bassmaster event goes on, the guys that you met there, the place that you fished, just and then how you did there on the deal. What's kind of your overall feeling?
Well, it was. It's my first time. I know a few guys. I meet other people, and I never thought it was so difficult to fish in that lake, especially for me and for my situation with my kayak. But I don't know. Maybe I am thinking, if it's another tournament, go back, because I know where to go to fish. But was all the time for me is nice experience, something new, and be with you guys is always funny as a surprise. And then beach these 2 guys over there was very good. I feel good, but be prepared, because I'm gonna coming back very tough this year.
That's awesome, man. I love to hear it. Kenny, what's your feelings on the overall deal there? How they're doing stuff, and how Havasu played out for you?
Steve Owens, great guy, awesome tournament director, great communication, probably one of the best. Well, besides AJ McCorder with Hobie, but Steve is super communicative. So he's up there top of the best tournament directors. And then meeting all the Arizona anglers too, that was a blast. And those guys were very welcoming. I just about got pretty buzzed at the greet and meet from all the drinks from a Roy Hawk, of course, but the Arizona guys were buying us drinks too. So they were really welcoming. And man, I had a blast down there, to be honest. And I definitely go back to that lake. My biggest thing would be, I just want a little bit higher water level.
Right.
I think with the water level being up, there'd be a lot more of the shoreline structure in play. And then, of course, the Tules will be a lot better depth of water as well.
That's awesome. Nick, what do you think, man? What your fortunes on day one weren't where you wanted them. Did day 2 turn around a little bit for you?
No.
No?
For me, day 2 got worse. And Penny and Massimo whooped our tails pretty good. Day 2 was terrible. I caught a tiny little white bass, and I was so excited. I was a little kid at Christmas catching that damn thing. We had seaplanes coming in at us. I ended up kind of just rolling around. I was throwing a S waiver most of the day, just kind of swinging for the fences to see what I could see. That lake's cool, though. The people are cool. And there are big fish in that lake for sure.
Giants.
I wish I would have found muddy 57-degree water. I would have taken that over the 10 feet of clarity that I was fishing in most of the time. But I did catch a PB, and I had a great time. It was my first one, so I paid my dues a little bit on this one.
And that is the national scene, right? It's a different game when you're going to these new waters, you're going to these new areas, and that there's a drive like that involved, right? I mean, it just adds another element to the whole. Why I've continued to say that tournament fishing and the measure of an angler, they are not the same, okay? Because you can be a hell of a damn good angler and not have a great experience, and vice versa. You can be a great tournament angler, but maybe not the overall type angler in general. So it's a different deal. Matt, you are going to be going to 10 killer. You're going to be lining that bad boy up there now. So we've got some guys from Colorado that have been to 10 killer. Were you at 10 killer last year? No, you were not.
No, I wasn't there. And pretty cool thing. So I guess we'll just let it out of the bag. So I've been in talks with, Army has an outdoors team. They got 2 boats that are on the NPFL last year, and I think the year before as well, John Branch and Josh Watkins. And I applied to be on their outdoors team when they opened it up and got picked up last year. So 10 killer, I will be representing the Army, which is pretty sweet.
Hell yeah.
So that'll be pretty cool. Be out there. It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, researching the crap out of it right now, but and it's gonna be cool. It's like the week after Memorial Day weekend, so I think we're gonna do like family Memorial Day weekend out there, light fishing, so I don't burn myself out like I always do, and then I'll have 3 days dedicated to real pre-fishing and then go into the tournament for that. But to say like what everybody else was saying about the Bassmaster, I echo what Kenny said. Steve Owens is a great dude.
Yes,
everything's super clear and communicated well. You're getting emails, text messages for any updates. Like, no one's out of the loop on that. If you're out of the loop, it's because you're not paying attention.
It's on you.
It's on you at that point. The meet and greet was really cool. The fact that they go out of the way to do that. Also, I saw Jake in here, Jake's Lure Joint. What's up, Jake?
Yeah.
But I would say like there's like different tiers for. That was my first Bassmaster event, and I haven't been to all of the different trails one days that they have, but I know there's some cool stuff out there. The native no limits, like Corey I think was talking about down at Fort. Guys tend to love those events because you can swing for the fences, and every hour there's a power hour fish, so it doesn't have to be like a 2 days all or nothing. You can go for like Josh Hines, I think he won like $1,000 because he caught big bass for that hour or whatever. And they typically just have a great time down there too. It's more of like a fun experience, more or less serious. The Eco Fishing Shop Big Bass 250, I will say guys that haven't done that, I know Flanagan and I went last year, and that was my favorite tournament that I've ever done. It's one day at the Ozarks, and it's after all the boats are done being crazy, so it's just a lot of kayaks out there. It was a blast. The big fish, not the winner, but the big fish wins $10,000, which was our boy Stoney, and then he also took first place, so he won another $6,000 on top of that. So $16,000 for a one-day fun trip. But beyond like the tournament, you're meeting like tons of people out there, and then they have a giant like catered event where they gave away over $70,000 of prizes. Like they gave away like 10 kayaks, trolling motors, paddles, like you name it. Like everybody was just giving stuff away. So I will say, if guys aren't serious about like maybe doing a Bassmaster event this year, since that's the only national one we got, definitely check out like the Native No Limits or the Eco Fishing Shop.
I was going to say that the Eco one is October 25th. I looked at that, and right now I'm in finally. For the first time in 3 years, I will not have something else conflicting. So yes, that one looks like, and that's not that bad of a drive, man. That's like an 11 hour run, 10 and a half, and you can be there.
Yep.
Beautiful area.
Airbnbs are super reasonable that time of year. It's off season. You can go see Jake too. He lives like 20 minutes from there. So
Hell yeah, Jake's lure joint. Jake Schroeder. We'll stop. That's where we'll just stay at Jake's house.
there you go. Amber will love that.
Right. We appreciate you, Trev. We appreciate you tuning in, man. And yeah, these guys did wrap that yak. Nice, Corey. Nice. Good stuff. Appreciate you guys tuning in while we're live here. Listen, fellas, thank you so very much for stopping in and spending a little bit of your evening here with us. We're going to let you guys roll out of here. We'll pull the show down. Hopefully, this isn't the last time we see you guys here. Massimo, now that you know how to get on the podcast, brother, we're going to have it's going to be story time with Massimo, because you tell some of the greatest recap stories I think that most of us have heard. You know, whether it's breaking transducers or catching fish, buddy, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And we'll have you on here to share some of your recipes too for that pastry thing that you brought.
I'll bring the Boone's Farm, Massimo. I'll bring the Boone's Farm, buddy.
Boone's Farm.
Well,
Get that Strawberry Hill, baby.
Yeah.
Does Boone's have a Pinot?
I'm going to try to make for the next tournament. If I don't go in Tennessee, here in Denver, I'm going to try to make a tiramisu for everybody.
Tiramisu. Oh my gosh, dude. Nice. Kenny, you slick bastard. You getting him as a travel buddy. That's you got the hookup, man.
Yeah.
Love all. Are you hearing this? Make some tiramisu, man. Something. All right, boys. Well, listen, you guys stay warm out there. Be safe. Thank you guys so very much for swinging in here, and we'll be talking with you guys soon.
All right.
Have a great evening. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
See you, boys.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for us here. Remember, go to that YouTube channel for us. Smash that subscribe button. That's a huge, huge help. Even if, YouTube isn't your thing. Just smashing that subscribe is a huge help for us out there. We got a milestone. Our Dock Talk podcast hit 150,000 views. We got that little notification sent in to us, so that was pretty cool to see that. For our little show, that's quite the little milestone there, and we don't focus heavily, hot and heavy, on those things, but it does help. We like to grow this thing organic. And it helps us with potential sponsors for the future to help offset some costs, so we're not messing with this stuff, and that way we can keep our funding and everything moving towards the programs. We have got a lot of cool events, man. We're going to be number one. We're going to be trying to do weekly events here in Colorado. At the worst case, it'll be bi-weekly. We'll be putting on events here where we're going to be taking folks. We're going to be having, we've got a Kansas trip planned, maybe a couple Kansas trips planned. We got a Wyoming trip planned where we're going to take some guys from Colorado, run up there a couple hours to some Wyoming waters. We've got Nebraska, probably going to open up Nebraska even more because, like I said, those communities over there were unbelievably welcoming to us, and we're looking forward to really exploit that further and work with them. And really get some, bring some kayak fishing into that neck of the woods and get some guys out there, get those bonds, get that, that community, created there. That's ultimately what we're trying to get done. So with you folks that are tuning in, thank you so very much. If you're listening to this recorded, we love you guys the same. Members, subscribes, likes, you know the deal, all that good stuff there. As always, folks, tight lines, be safe.